Hey guys, Dr. Prometheus here, back with another video. This time E3, and what I'm looking forward to from 2022 and beyond. But first, the site that I've taken all the content off of and for this E3 will be down in the description below, and you see it on the screen here. Pretty good site if you missed anything. Without further ado, let's get into the top 5. So the first one will be Outer Worlds 2 by Obsidian. Just got announced with a little trailer, and I never really played the first game on the channel, although I did play a little bit off screen, but never got too deep into it. We're going to be going back and playing a good playthrough. Got a couple DLCs that have come out with it. Microsoft coming out with some RPGs. That's the biggest thing in the companies they've acquired. You'll see a couple of them on here. This one from Obsidian and one from Bethesda. So kind of excited with this. Maybe some of that Bethesda experience can go over to Obsidian. But most importantly, hopefully, some of the lessons that Obsidian that Bethesda has not used, maybe that bleeds off into Bethesda productions as well. Kind of get some mutual benefit here at Microsoft, but that is another matter. I'm excited for this game. Another RPG, another long RPG. So we'll be going back and playing the first game in preparation for the second game. Still no release date, obviously first announced, but here we go at number 4. This one relatively unknown to me. Lost, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Eidolons. It does have a Steam Early Access at the end of the year, but the full release would be at somewhere in 2022. Seems pretty intriguing. Maybe a good story attached to it. Kind of reminds me a lot like a Fire Emblem 3 Houses that came out. A little bit more towards the realistic graphics, got some fantasy in there, that sort of thing. Little tactical RPG. And hey, I'll take as many of these like this as possible. I love the old style with Final Fantasy Tactics, and I really love Fire Emblem, so not opposed to more stuff like this. We'll see how that goes. Again, we're going to test out early access with this one when it does come out towards the end of the year, so we can get some good stuff there. So at 3, kind of a weird thing, Stranger of Paradise, a Final Fantasy Origins story. This one I was not anticipating, although I knew that Square Enix was doing a couple of odd and random things, much like a Final Fantasy VII BR, and remaking some of the old pixel upgrades to 1 through 6, and then some craziness even more with a hybrid of Final Fantasy VII of the old version, with the old story, but some remake battles into it, some weird stuff. And this one kind of is in the same vein as, well, kind of exploring. To me, it reminds me more of not really a hardcore-esque, but it kind of reminds me a lot of an arcadey idea of Dark Souls. I don't think it's going to be as difficult. Good hack and slash in this with some story. Not opposed. Looks like some good stuff with merging some magic and some melee combat with some teammates. So probably a little bit of Final Fantasy 15, maybe some Final Fantasy 7 remake. Kind of bleeding through into the combat system, but looks pretty decent. I know some people have tested out the demo that was allowed after E3, and some say it was pretty early and it did have some issues. But again, this isn't a game that's going to be out anytime soon, so there's no worries here. Square Enix definitely will get everything together. What we're looking here is a 2022, probably towards the end of the year, that this one would come out. But hey, it's good to get some hands on a game like this. Give some feedback. So if you ended up giving Square that feedback, you might end up giving this game a bit more of a push, but it looks pretty intriguing in this. So we'll have to see what comes of this one in the Final Fantasy. I know that it has some relation to maybe one of the original 1 through 3, so I don't know too much about that or Final Fantasy Origins, so it'd be good to explore that one. At number 2, Starfield was announced a couple of years ago, slated for 11 November 2022. This one, I feel like Bethesda could come out and deliver a big game in Starfield. Something that they've been developing or thinking about for a long time. I just hope it does not have a No Man's Sky feel. What I mean by that is No Man's Sky, when it first came out, was very empty and did not feel anything like what we thought it would be. Although the game has gotten better over time, still, I am hopeful that we could see some good story, things like that. This is a title where I'm very hopeful for, probably overhyped to be honest with you, with it. Because me, as being a guy that is generally interested in space, this game just feels more geared towards my interest. And hopefully we go out and do some cool things, explore, and we're able to actually get a game that, well, is good. However, I'm hoping, and I don't want to say it's bad because Fallout 4 was not bad, but it wasn't generally good. But what I don't want to see is the treatment of a Fallout 76. It would be a disaster for a game like this and put Bethesda back even more. But I am hopeful that a game like this with a long development cycle and the fact that Bethesda acquired by Microsoft's not going to want to put a product out there that is like 76. So hopefully Bethesda comes out and does some good things. At 1 is Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, slated for 28 April of 2022. This game right here is what it is all about. Now, I've loved games like Escape from Tarkov, although I'm not very good at a game like Escape from Tarkov. A single-player hardcore game like this, in the realm of a good feeling for a shooter, a good story, a crazy environment. This is what it's all about. The idea that you have good play and good control, especially with your weapons, but also having the ability to mod weapons on the fly, mod weapons in general. First thing I have to ask is what is the mod community going to be? Because if you know anything, there's a lot of mods for the original Stalker games. And those really amp up the original Stalker games so much to the point that it's a game that you can still play today, have great enjoyment, not worry about the graphics, although there's some graphical enhancements and some rebuilding that's happened since the 10 or so years since Stalker franchise came out. But with Stalker 2, I have a great feeling that we're going to see bigger environment. We're going to see a wider environment. Maybe we'll end up seeing both the areas that we've seen in Chernobyl, but also areas like Pripyat that were added later in expansions. We have the technology today to have a spiraling map that's absolutely massive, that encumbers every aspect of this universe and fill it with crazy monsters, anomalies, all that stuff. And the modding community could be a huge, huge part of this. I'm thinking a lot that since this is an exclusive, we're going to see mods for this game 100%. Especially on PC, which would be the platform we'll be playing on. The game looks beautiful. Some engine like the fire and the dynamic of the weather and everything that they've shown so far. Absolutely fantastic. The game looks awesome and very, very immersive, which a game like this really needs to get into that immersion and bring you into the environments. In this scene you're seeing right now is really what immersion's all about. And crafting great enemies and making them terrifying in a universe like this. And it just makes me absolutely afraid looking at this trailer that we're gonna have some jump scares in this one. And not because it's a scary game, just because things are gonna pop out at you and it's going to generally freak you out in some of these environments. And that's what Stalker is all about. The environment, dragging you into that. But also showing a little hints of a story in the trailer and not revealing who people are. This right here. Good environment. You see over. You can see Chernobyl. You can see the middle of the zone. This is going to be an experience of experience. I don't know how to explain it like this. I am so hyped for this game, but going back and knowing some of the mods that they've had, and the mining community might come in and make some similar mods where this game is entirely more than what was produced, is going to be awesome. But the environments like this, the lighting, the rain, this is something we knew it could be. Hopefully this is on your radar. It is my number one outside of 2022, and it will be until it's released at this point. Probably my most hyped game, most definitely. So hopefully you have one of these games or some of these games in your top 5. We have a couple honorable mentions we'll go through. Games we've heard a lot about. We're going to start with Atomic Heart. Kind of a wonky, gave me a vibe of a Fallout-esque game, but set in a cyberpunkish machine age idea in Russia. Kind of reminds me a lot of also Outer Worlds, so along that vein. And I really think this could be intriguing because it just takes a bunch of wonky things and just a bunch of whack things, mash it together, and this could be a lot of fun from just an absolutely ridiculous standpoint. Kind of the whole idea of what Outer Worlds is at some points of the game. Just a bunch of craziness that's just, let's just have fun. And that really gives me a vibe of a chill playthrough that we can have. Our next one, and this one is kind of out there, 2023, doesn't even have a name, it's still Project Ferocious. And this, the environments is what really drew me into this. Think about the fact that you're going through an environment and you have to contend with people. Survival game. So you have enemies in the jungle, you have your own weapons. Not the typical survival game that you would be where you're out there alone. This is more, gives me a vibe of a combat survival game around dinosaurs. Like, we're not talking about going back to the old hiding type idea of Turok or anything like that. We're talking a modern shooter survival game. Looks intriguing, to say the least. Remember, a long time for this to come out. I'm sure we'll see a lot more as the time comes on. 2023 is slated, so hopefully we see some more in the next couple of E3s. But it looks intriguing nonetheless. Should be a game that I definitely pay attention to, and it should be on your radar. But that'll do it for this video. Go and leave a like below, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.